We have a lot of problems in the Chesapeake Bay. Too much nutrient and too much sediment. Those are actually pollutants that are entering the Chesapeake from our little streams and creeks, and that fuels algae. The algae grows, dies, sinks to the bottom and rots, soaks up all the oxygen. And that causes tremendous problems for our ecosystem and actually makes it dangerous in some instances. The Chesapeake Conservancy is a nonprofit conservation organization. We're devoted to the protection of our cultural and natural resources in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, and we've been delivering results now for 14 years. Well, I believe in evidence, and I think that in order to justify certain positions or convictions, you ought to have evidence to back it up. We have a vision of protecting 30% of the Chesapeake Bay watershed by 2030, but not just any 30%. We want to be really precise, really thoughtful in which lands we're preserving and why. One of the things the Chesapeake Conservancy has been committed to is developing the data and analyses that the conservation community needs.
The Conservation Innovation Center is a program within Chesapeake Conservancy that is focused on data-driven decision-making. Our team really focuses on creating new data or analyzing existing data to help make decisions. These data really help us understand our interactions with the landscape and the waterways. You can't always tell it just from knowing the area. Sometimes you really need these data to help understand contextually how these features fit together. What the CIC team is doing is unique because we are creating data that is nationally recognized. There are available data layers at coarse resolutions, meaning that a 30-meter by 30-meter block is all represented as the same type of information. What we are doing is getting these information available at a 1-meter by 1-meter scale, meaning that there is over 900 times more detail in the information we're providing. We're not just looking at a regional area, but we're making these data accessible for talking to individual landowners, for an individual person to look at and understand what they could do on their own property that could help impact the waterways and conservation and restoration as a whole.
So in 2015, Chesapeake Conservancy got our first major grant from National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. And we worked with local groups, bringing them together to prioritize where we wanted to work in a few counties there. We found that folks had been working in these counties for decades and in some cases had never even met each other in person. There were lots of organizations that had really common goals, but had never really sat around and come up with a coordinated plan on how they wanted to achieve those goals together. So using the high-resolution data, we literally plotted out on the map where we thought we could make the greatest impacts on water quality and wildlife habitat. We had lots of other partners starting to join the table and ended up focusing on a number of small watersheds where the data told us we could make the greatest impact in a short amount of time and where partners already had some landowners who would be willing to work with us. That program has now grown to include 56 streams throughout 7 Pennsylvania counties within the Susquehanna River watershed. And the Susquehanna accounts for over 50% of the fresh water into the Chesapeake Bay. So our restoration efforts are directly connected to the health of the bay and the long-term sustainability of the ecosystem.
I think one of the coolest things about our job is that the data that we create and analyze is helping guide actions and decisions at all scales. The information that we're providing is used by decision makers and advisors throughout our region.
I'm really grateful to be a part of this community of restoration professionals, volunteers, donors, landowners who are all focused on the common goal of restoring the Chesapeake. You know, it's the little things like planting native species in your yard or volunteering at a local community event to do a cleanup or a tree planting, coming out to support an organization during a fundraising campaign or giving a small donation around the end of the year. All of these things really add up. It's really rewarding to see the results of all of this hard work and to know that what I'm doing every day is going to have a lasting impact.